Buenos dias. Good morning. We have some things happening already. Wednesday's top analyst calls: NVIDIA, Apple, Nike, Rivian, Reddit, Disney, and Micron. That should be interesting. In the pre-market, the biggest movers right now: Uber, Reddit, and Electronic Arts. As of right now, Dow futures down 0.11%, S&P futures down 0.36%. We also have NASDAQ futures down 0.60%, and they are down the most. For Europe, last reported, their markets are overall higher. DAX up 0.10%, FTSE up 0.25%, CAC up 0.62%. FTSE Milano is the only one that's down 0.72%, and Stock 600 up 0.11%. Sweden's central bank cut rates, and European markets higher on earnings reports. Yep, everybody's got earnings. Asia mixed. ASX 200 up 0.14%. Nikkei down 1.63%, which is the most. Kospi up 0.39%, but HSI is down 0.90%, and Shanghai down 0.61%. Japan stocks lead losses in Asia Pacific markets as investors parse through earnings. As of right now, the Russell 2K down 0.19%, and the VIX is up slightly 1.74%, even though the stock futures slipped after Dow notches longest winning streak since December. All right, let's take a look real quick at what happened yesterday with SPX. And I'm going to check them out real quick. So this is what happened yesterday. This is the 15-minute chart. And there was quite a bit of, I guess you could say, different expectations on what the market was going to do on yesterday. This is the past 3 days of activity on the 15-minute chart. Overall, it's been going up, but yesterday specifically, it did that open. It shot up right here about 11:15, and it based for a little bit and dropped, and it closed right about there. So its open was closed and open pretty much in the same spot. So that's what was going down on yesterday. So no major shifts, no drops, significant drops past these other points. So it basically retested at the close of the previous day. This is the close of 2 days ago, and this is where it retested in that same area. So it'll be interesting to see what ends up happening on today. On the weekly for SPX, looks like there's a pullback that has happened over the past few weeks. But overall, it looks like it's trying to make its way on up to get back to this recent high. And that's what we'll be watching for in the coming weeks to see what happens. This is the daily chart. This was a gap right here from a few days ago. Really, you can put this in the base and make that a cheer formation. Leg in, base, leg out. But again, it is in the seller zone right now, trying to make its way through. So there's a trend line right here we could put in, and that is what is also bouncing off of. So we got some things to take a peek at and keep in mind for the next, not just today, but for the rest of the week. Forex Factory, and that would be market open. Forex Factory, we got the final wholesale inventories month over month, yellow folder. Crude oil inventories is yellow folder at 10:30, at 11 o'clock. Yellow folder, FOMC member Jefferson speaks. We have one orange folder today at 101. That's the 10-year bond auction. And at 1:30, another yellow folder, FOMC member Cook speaks. Of course, that's Forex Factory. And we know that investing.com is going to have more activity. As a matter of fact, some of this occurred already. So let's go over here and do a filter. This is on investing.com/economic-calendar. You can do a filter, and I'm going to clear out everything and just select the United States and then select all for everything that we want to see. And then we'll mark all three of these for importance, then apply. So we'll get a nice little grouping. I put my trades in the evening, so you'll probably hear some trades accepting, some stuff is closing. So we had a bunch of things at 7 o'clock, all 1 star, 7 o'clock this morning. Looks like everything was pretty much neutral in terms of its impact. That's the 30-year mortgage rate, the mortgage applications week over week, all MBA, the purchase index, and then the mortgage market index and the mortgage refinance index. Coming up, we got the wholesale inventories month over month for March. That's 1 star. So all of these have been 1 star. The wholesale trade sales month over month for March as well. We got coming up a 3-star event in about an hour, the crude oil inventories, which should sound familiar to most of us that are on this call or on the stream regularly. We got the EIA refinery crude runs week over week, 1 star, as well as the crude oil imports is 1 star. 2 stars for the Cushing crude oil inventories. The distillate fuel productions is 1 star, along with the EIA weekly distillate stocks. Gasoline production also 1 star. Heating oil stockpiles and EIA weekly refinery utilization rates week over week is 1 star. Gasoline inventories also 1 star, with the natural gas storage. All of that is happening within an hour. At 11 o'clock, we got Fed Governor Jefferson speaking, which is 1 star over here. And then Thomson Reuters Ipsos PCSI for May, 1 star. At 11 o'clock, 11:45, 1 star, Fed Collins speaks. And then at 1 o'clock, the 10-year note auction over here, 3 stars. On the other side, it was orange, but over here, 3 stars. 1:30, so that's at 1 o'clock. 1:30 is Fed Governor Cook speaks. So for all intents and purposes, in about an hour, we have a 2-star event over here, and then a 3-star event at 1 o'clock. So we've got a little bit of something that's going to be happening. So at the end of the day, we are best served with making sure that we're sticking to the charts. This should say SPX. My apologies for whatever reason. I have a habit of putting SPY on Mancini's information when it's supposed to be SPX, and I've been doing it for years. SPX finally getting its first post-breakout micro dip, and for the first time in the week, lost a support. 51.75 was support, with fails starting to dip. 51.64 to 61 almost. Support here, bulls want a fast reaction. 51.75, 51.82. If it fails, we see deeper dip, 51.50, 51.41. All right, so 51.75, 51.82. Looks like that's what we will be putting on the chart. So what I will do is, this thing opens up. Let's do this. We'll do 70, let's go 75 to 82. Go a little bit lower, about right there. All right. And what I'm doing is just marking the area that Mancini mentioned in terms of his range. And so 75 to 82 is what I want. And we'll go 75. I'll do right in there. I'll do 51.74. That's fine. We're going to mark this red. We know what's going on there. So if it could very well hit this and keep dropping, who knows? But while we're in the mix right now, let's note that we have a gap right here. And again, this is SPX on the daily chart. So we want to mark this gap. And we will, there's actually a couple gaps here, but just looking for a brighter color. That'll work. If you use Thinkorswim, that's what broker this is. And if you're on the desktop, if you hit the space bar, that is how you can duplicate your lines or really your drawing tools. So far, it seems to be the majority of the drawing tools. We have here, I would put this here. So this is a gap here. And then there's another gap right here. Right? This is on the daily. So I just want to make sure we acknowledge where the gaps are currently. Obviously, this would be providing support in this situation, this gap right here. And so this is what it looks like on the daily chart. And what I'm going to do is leave this, pull this down. This is on the daily. So you see here, gap down for the morning, right? So when we come back, we'll be looking at the 15-minute chart so we don't see all of those other lines. But for right now, I at least want to acknowledge it. It would not surprise me if this pushes up and, has some type of retest in this area and comes back down. That would not surprise me at all. But for right now, that's what we have for the gap. And then we'll do the, I'll just put in one line for the 15-minute and we'll come back to it later. All right. So we have at least the bottom of the 15-minute. And we'll watch all of this as it starts to make its way through. But just keep in mind that this was the turning point 2 sessions ago right here. So this would be a place of support as well. And then up here is resistance. This is where it closed. And then now it came back and retested that yesterday. So this whole block is something that we can keep an eye on, if you will. Okay. First announcement, Sim May. It started on May 1st. The E2T crew, we pick a strategy they want to learn or test and run it all of May in the sim. In the sim. Say it with me. In the sim. Right? We are not using any real money on this. Thinkorswim is what I'm using. Simulated trading. I don't know who all has simulated trading at this point in terms of brokers. So I can only go by what I'm doing with Thinkorswim. in terms of the simulated trading. So, Nori, good morning. Congratulations on setting up your paper trading account. Johnny Goodwin, good morning. Lady T, good morning. Nori says XOM. Lady T is Disney and Oxy. And all right. I'll make sure we get to those. Pull out the scratch pad. Say Disney. Oxy, meaning Occidental, not Oxycontin. XOM would be Chevron. AMD. Sizzling. Gotcha. Johnny was asking, why do I put the trades in the evening? Normally when I'm charting, there's two things that seem to work better for me. Is that number one, if I put in the trade the night before, that lets, I mainly do that just because I want to be able to start doing a better job of journaling the trades. And usually I'm doing it when I'm comfortable with the levels that I'm seeing, or at least that I'm trying to test. So I'll give you a quick example, then we'll move on. But so last night I was charting Carvana, and I noticed that it looked like Carvana is coming into a support area. So for right now, I figure, well, at the very least, I could do a call credit spread up here, right? Because I know that that's a safe place as an example. So I can put that trade in and then it'll pick up. It's not going to be, as high a premium as it would be if it's down here where it's coming into. This being a gap and it's coming down, that would increase my chances of getting a higher premium if I'm down here. But for something that I know, I feel like, okay, I'm pretty safe up here, I'll put that in the night before. So I'm using that as an example. But all of my, theories, I guess you could say, are the same way. Right down here is this formation. So this would be another example. I'll, in the evening, if it was up higher, because obviously I wouldn't have known this gapped up. But in this situation, when I seen this push up, it retested, I would have been, somewhere lower, seeing as though I know it's trying to move up. And because I see this turn over here, I would have thought, okay, that might retest. Who knows? But I would try to get into a space that might be a little bit safer, because this can always gap up. So I don't want to be above it. And then it gaps right through and is right through my strike. So when I see certain areas that look safe when I'm charting, and safe, I'm putting that in quotations because, no, is there truly safety in this? But that's how I'm looking at that. And then the other thing is I put my closing orders in as well. So some of the stuff that closed, these are buy orders. So I had Toll Brothers. This was for today's SPY, but vertical for MGM. So I closed these because sometimes I'll be in the trade for too long and the trade will be a good trade. And then I don't, I might lose track during the day, something like that, but so it's really just a measure of making sure I'm getting in and out of trades when I'm in a space to actually focus. So that's a long answer, but that's why I do it that way. Good morning, Karen C. All right, so my trading plan for today, really, I always do. This is answering the other question. I look at Russell 2000. Oh, I look at Russell 2000, which is on the list as RUT. That is the symbol on Thinkorswim. However, I don't know what it is on TradeStation, but I usually have to switch to IWM when I'm trying to look at Russell 2000 when I'm on the TradeStation. But today I'm pretty much just looking at the same thing, Russell 2000. Each morning I'm looking to get into the PDT hack, and so trading the breakout, and that's usually where I start each morning to see what that's going to be all about. So this is Russell on the daily, and they have gap down right here. And so since there's another gap here, which should look familiar because we just did the same thing on SPX, but this will be the daily. So I'm just looking at where the gaps are and doing the exact same thing. Right, this is the gap down for this morning. So I'll trade the breakout the same way. So that's each morning. That's what I'm looking for, is to see what's going on in terms of the breakout. Everything else is kind of a wait and see type situation for me. But that's my usual morning. And I'm probably looking at something that's going to be tech stock related too. So this is what I'll be watching. Some people watch SPX. I watch Russell for the breakout. So that's what I'm looking at for today, answering Johnny's question. All right, let's get it started. Okay. AMD, one of the big dogs in this space. So there's a couple things that I'm seeing happening. There was a gap that we put in right here that it has actually has not touched that gap, but it has tried to fill this gap here. All right. So it has been doing some gapping, by the way. So I'm going to blow this up. So here's what we're looking at for AMD on the daily chart. I'm just going to do, there's a gap right here. There's another one. Well, technically, I will put it here. All right, so let's do that. Make these lines brighter and bigger. Do it that way so y'all can see it. So that's how I'm looking at that. Just bring that down. Something like that. So it hasn't quite fully filled this gap. So it's essentially sandwiched in between these two. And not to be redundant, but there's hustle gap right here. All right, so there's plenty of activity. And if you look at it from this perspective, this is a formation, leg in, 2 in the base. This is a strong gap down, right? So you have a seller zone right here automatically because of the way that's just naturally set up. And then you have leg in, base, leg out, and there's a gap here as well. So nice gap out, gap up, but the buyers are definitely pushing up right there. So that's what's happening on the daily for AMD. And on a 4-hour, it's essentially breaking through this right here. Probably, I would imagine, trying to make its way back up to this level. Remember, this was a gap. So it has retested this area a few times. All right. So if I was looking at AMD, I kind of feel like you have a couple different choices. in this situation. You could go above price, try to find somewhere safe, or you can go below price and try to find somewhere safe. And again, safe is in quotations. Okay, safe is not a statement of fact. It is safe as a general area of trying not to be broke at the end of the trade. So if we're doing it, we can pull out the old calculator. Let's calculate. So let's do this. Finding 1.4. We're going to add to current price. Our volatility, 159. So we want to be at 160. This is AMD. This is a 2.5 spread. And I'm just fine with 29 because that's over 10%. I'm cool with that. I ain't got no beef with that amount.
So you see a call credit spread on AMD?
I was seeing both.
Okay.
Because
the semis are definitely looking a little weak. So
I'm sorry?
That's probably, I said the semiconductors are all looking kind of a little weak. So a call credit spread would be good.
Oh, okay. All right. Because actually I can go down here. What's that? What was that, Alyssa? Threw me off. 159. Gotcha. All right. Okay. So we'll see how this plays out. Now, if we're looking at it on the chart, we're going to say, just to show you the chart version. Whoops. So 160, bang. So 160 is up here above this resistance and into the sell zone, into the seller zone. Get in the zone, seller zone. All right. And all products is over here. Or if you so chose, you can go at the bottom here for that young iron condor. And the reason I'm looking at that is simply because it is sandwiched between support and resistance. If it was in a particular direction, moving in one direction, I will go in the opposite of where it was going. And also, you don't have to put this in right away either. I'm just doing it because I'm sitting here on the call. You want to get below 150.37. This is 81% out of the money, which I am perfectly fine with. Right, Alyssa? Am I not perfectly fine with that? I'll even increase it to 15 cents. And YouTube AM.
Sometimes we get a little closer.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We means not Jamie. So, hey there, Lisa Henry. Hey there, Alyssa. How you doing? All right. So we got AMD. That's what I'm seeing for AMD. This is on the daily chart. 4 hour, again, is basing. So either way, I will still be seeing that as potential for Iron Condor, or I'm sorry. Oh, so or you can do put credit spread since it's pushing up, but I'm okay with that. Not investment advice, but I'm just looking at it like, what would I be doing if my money was on the line? You understand? So let's look at Disney. Oh, this is the 4-hour. Man, look at that drop. This what happened to the mouse house, man? They put some mouse traps in. Woo! My goodness. What happened, baby? What happened? All right. So here we go. It gapped right through a whole bunch of stuff right here. Strong. Now this formation right here, when you see this peak right here and then two sides that are about the same, that's called a head and shoulders. So I believe that fits the description for this formation, which is a common reversal. So where did this closed up here? So that's why I have this candle, trend line up here, because it closed up here. Some people have recently, I was hearing whether or not it's true, I don't know. But so we had this marked as a cheer formation, and somebody was saying that when it gaps up or price gaps up or down, it takes out, basically is considered going through that particular zone. I like to have mine on the chart so I can still see them. I would much rather turn them gray to signify that something happened there versus taking them out totally, because I prefer to have that visual. But there seems to be different thoughts on whether or not that's a accurate statement. I'm fine either way. So I'll just be doing this just to signify I know that something happened in there, right? But since it's gapped down, it gapped down into what? A gap. So we're in the same situation. We got a sandwich happening. That's what this is. So this will be the same deal. Disney, did they report today or yesterday? Is that what happened? Oops. No, I don't see them on the list. Okay. So
I think Disney did. I thought they had a report. Either was a few days ago or something. Maybe today's Wednesday. They reported recently.
that's what I thought. I
Mhm.
don't see it on here, so it must have been like last week.
Yeah, they had earnings recently. I'm just
That's
trying to
what
figure. I don't know when.
I thought. And also that doesn't necessarily mean that what we're seeing on the chart is exactly from earnings. So that's an assumption on my part. But we got from this morning, since we are bringing up.
Yeah, they had earnings yesterday. Disney had earnings on May the 7th.
Oh, you know what? Here they are right here before the open. Okay. I'm like, I knew it was in the past, recent past. All right, thank you for that. I didn't even see them sitting right there at the top. Yesterday after close, it was Rivian, Arista, Upstart, Wynn Hotels, Lyft, Oxy. That's Occidental, not Oxycontin. Twilio, Confluent, Toast, and I think it's Astro Labs. But this morning before open, it was Uber, Shopify, Affirm, ACM, Avadel, Toyota, Emerson, Adidas, Perion, and Auto Home, who I'm not familiar with. After close today is ARM, Robinhood, Airbnb, AMC, The Trade Desk, Beyond Meat, AppLovin, Energy Transfer, Duolingo, and Exact Sciences. So those will be some ones to watch. In my opinion, especially ARM, because they are very important in the tech space as far as I'm concerned. So we have this gap down from Disney. Obviously, it's probably, I would assume that it's going to try to push its way up. And so I'm only assuming that because of the way it gapped down. And I was looking to get into Disney. I would probably start, because of this huge gap, I probably would start in the call credit spread. But you can do either way on this one, because as long as you are behind something, support or resistance, you have two gaps to choose from in this situation. And even if you still consider this a cheer, you still have that right there. So if we were to take a look-see and say $2, say 104.1, if you were about right here, that's 84% out the money. The premium is not like super juicy or nothing, but I mean, I can handle that. It's 10 cents. I'm okay with that 10 cent. So we will need to do 108 at the top. Now, it'll be less premium if I do 86%, a little bit more premium if I do 79, since that's closer to 80. I don't think I'm going to go ahead and take a look at that. This is a one spread, 108 minus 109, one spread times 100 for the number of shares per contract. So if both of those accept and this trade ends up being profitable, that would be 20%, at least in terms of what was collected, 20% return on collateral. Right, so that's what I have for those two. Let's see how this ends up playing out. All right. Next on the list, we have AMD. Let's do XOM. So we did Disney, AMD, XOM. Technically, XOM and Oxy are probably going to look the same because they're in this similar space. All righty. So we're going to flip all of this around. Let's do, yeah. So here's what's going down with them. They are on the monthly chart, they are in a for real seller zone. And it got rejected right here. But man, this would be something to watch. This looks like it looks like a what is that called? Is that a triple top? It looks like, I want to say triple top. Up, up, up. So it might come down and then keep going down. Retested this 3 times. So this is I'm just marking the most recent 2 swing points on a monthly chart. And that's what I'm seeing for those two. Let's check and see what the weekly has to say about this. Oh, look at you. All right. So remember, I was like up, down, up, down. This would be the down that I was referring to. So we're going to see. The daily is going to really clear some stuff up. But at least we know for sure the thing to look out for in this situation on the weekly is you have a price level right here where this turned around before in the past as well. That's 111. So that's $5 down. So that might be a bounce point or something. Could be significant. All right. So I'm just going to create a channel here and get a couple of these lines touching in the green. All right. Okay. Let's see what Daily got to say. See, there's at least this is a lot of look at all the rejection that's happening with these candles. Sellers rejecting, buyers rejecting, right in the small space right there. In terms of a seller zone, I would say right here for the daily. So be leg in, base, leg out. I'll put that right there. And that's where this line is retested up here. Somewhere in there. Down here is a little bit more suspect because it's not a traditional zone for this buyer zone down here. If anything, I'll be rechecking the weekly, and if I don't see anything, I'll check the 4 hour and see. I guess that would be it right here for a zone, a buyer zone that will be more recent. I'll be using this one. This is on the 4 hour. And then I would base my decisions on that. Something brighter. I'll make that work. So here we go for the buyer zone. And obviously this is still forming in terms of the most recent candle on the 4 hour, but I would be just fine with that setup right there for the buyer zone. So that's what that is. So I could use that as the buyer zone and use this as the seller zone. At the very least, to give me a visual on where everything is at. Let me say it that way. This is going to be green because I'm on the daily chart here. Right, so this seller zone is going to be from the daily, and this buyer zone is going to be from the 4 hour. Right, so price is pushing up towards this way. I'll be looking at something under here, under 115. 115 talking about. I see a 79% out the money right here. This is a May 10th. So I'll be looking at that. One spread, 10 cent. Stop going there. That's so misleading how fast that takes those trades. All right. So in this situation, because you have this gap right here, well, it's not a gap, because you have the seller zone up here, I would think that 120 will be kind of high right now. But let's see what we got in terms of premiums. I wouldn't think it'll be a whole lot of premiums. And it is not. So 119, if you wanted to do iron condor, and I usually put those in at separate times, but you would get 9 cents if you want to get in right now. You could always increase that to 10 if you were thinking that you want to get in. But definitely something to watch. So that's what I would be looking at in terms of those two. Using the seller zone from the daily and the buyer zone from the 4-hour. And keeping it moving on that level. Got one more. And actually, let's take a look at SPX real quick. And, look at this joker. Another engine that cut. All right. Trying to push his way on through. How many different sermons can be preached on that? Now, it gets to the top of this one, as we talked about earlier.
Go ahead and start preaching one for us. We'd like to hear it.
No, thank you. No, thank you. You not be laughing at me. This this resistance point right here. This was the close that we talked about. It came back and retested as support over here. Now it is resistance again because of the gap down, and it's bouncing off of there. And it just so happens, obviously, this is that Mancini zone that is sitting in right now. If you're trading the breakout, some people probably already got in on the breakout and may have gotten in and put their trades in. If you're doing a PDT hack, this is coming back towards you. So in this case, I probably would not have gotten in to the PDT for the PDT hack yet, just because I would have seen this support and resistance line, and I would have been waiting for it to break that. But as of right now, it did do a breakout, and I would be waiting to see if it retests this and starts heading back up. Even if it breaks down and starts coming, I would wait for it to come out the bottom before I did anything. Okay. And we got Oxy. Okay, I see you, Sizzling. I will put that on the list as well. Oxy. Have them started already. I've been seeing a lot more people, and it could be a coincidence, but I've been seeing a lot more people trading Occidental lately. Or shall I say, the name has been coming up. Oh. Hey. I haven't charted this since January. Good Lord. On the monthly chart, bullish wedge breakout at 61. Heck yeah. Nailed it. All right. This is the bullish wedge formation. And it's looking like on the monthly chart, it may be coming back around to retest this area. I will say somewhere around 62. If it breaks that, Let's see, at or below. Put this. I'm leaving a note for myself to say that on a monthly chart, if it retests that, so it'll send me a message when this is at or below where I think it would retest, and then I'll come and take a look at it. And then watch it from there. If it looks like it's gonna start heading back up. Now that's what I'm doing for the monthly chart, but obviously trading on the daily is where daily and a 4 hour is where I'll be focused, but it does not hurt to have that alert in there. So our purposes here, we will do this. See if we can. Alrighty, duplicate this. There's a couple of different spots you can do this for the duplicating this line. It's turned around in a couple places, so I'll be fine with either of those. For the monthly, let's look at the weekly. The Mary J. Blige. Why? Is this the Mary J. Blige move right here? Because I'm going down. You understand what I'm saying? Don't act like I don't listen to R&B. All right. So we are trending down right now. I'm trending down. So let me see. We are.
I don't know if I've rubbed off on you or you've rubbed off on me with the singing.
Probably a mixture of both. Because my word association has been like this since I probably learned to talk. I'm not even joking. The stories my mama have about how I was as a kid be cracking me up. So yeah, with music, I was a sponge as a kid. So it's probably both. This is, and you know, both of us grew up in church, so church kids turn anything into a church song anyway. So that's how you know you grew up in church, because every song can be something you turn into a church song. So we have that experience as church kids.
Yes, that's very true.
Yeah,
Very true.
that's how I know the difference between a church kid and a kid that went to church. There's certain things you just know as a church kid that the kid that went to church probably ain't even paying attention to. Like if you're a church kid, you don't even got to know the people at the church name. You just know how they shout. you know how everybody shout at your church. You go through a church where people shout. All church kids can imitate people at the church to shout. One example. All right. We're on the daily for Occidental. And this is a recent gap down. I'm gonna use this color right here for the gap. All right. Recent gap down. And if you're wondering, because I myself just learned this courtesy of our Lisa Pinkerton, this closed up here. And so I was always putting my gaps right here but it wouldn't be down here because unless it was a bearish candle. It closed up here. This is the close, and then it gapped down. So thank you, Arlissa, for that tidbit of information. Much appreciated. Now I got to try.
Sharing is caring.
It is. Now I got to figure out how to make it profitable, but you did your job. So either way, we do have a gap down, though. Based on that. So leg in, tune the base, leg out. Again, we're looking on the daily chart. So this looks awfully much like a seller zone formation here. Now, in terms of a buyer's formation, I got my alert in the way, so this won't be exact. I didn't see an option to anybody know if you can hide your alert on I only see replace and cancel, but I've never seen anything to say where you can still have it but just hide it.
So when you open the alert, does it something up there? Well, that's showing the name. I was gonna say I thought it was inside when you click the alert. If you go into it, if there's some way to.
Yeah. Let me see. Make sure I'm not clicking on the line behind it. All right. Yeah, I see. No, analyze. We don't want that. Maybe under. Yeah, I've never seen where you can just hide it, which you would think would be a feature, right? I think we will be able to do that. I'm gonna check. Put that on my list of on the desktop version of Thinkorswim. You can go right up here to support. Click on that, and you can create a support request. And right here is where you can literally interact with live support. Once you type a message in, it'll get everything started for you. And they are pretty responsive. I can tell when they're busy, but somebody does get to you in what I would consider to be a timely fashion. So when you have questions, feel free to use that. All right. And no, we are not getting we're not endorsed by Thinkorswim at all. We ain't turning them down though. I'm just saying if they want to, kick a play of some ends over here, I ain't gonna be turning them down. But they are just that their product is just that good. Okay. So what I'm seeing here is this is the turnaround point for in what I would see as a buyer zone. And really, I consider if we're looking at this right here as a formation, which is not a traditional formation, so I personally wouldn't see it that way. But what I would do is mark it. And we will mark it just because when you have a base candle that's so much longer than your out candle, I really don't see it as a, I guess you could say, traditional formation. But what I can say is that this is leg in, base, leg out for a chair formation. I would be okay with that, which essentially just means that this zone right here, I would just consider, all of this in the same type of a zone. But since this is the candle right here that's in the base, I would be okay with just going like this. So even if somebody said, oh, that is a buyer zone because of the candles, that's fine too. I might be marking it for a different reason, but the idea is we're capturing the zone. That's the most important thing. So this looks to be a seller zone forming. It looks to be retesting, or shall I say, bouncing off that gap. This was a seller's gap because it gapped down. So when it went to retest this area, it bounced off. So since it closed, if this is considered the high day, in this area, one of the higher prices, because it closed below this, it would not surprise me if it keeps pushing down a little bit more. But for right now, I would go. It's not gonna be a lot of premiums up there, but the only space that I see that would be quote safe, you would have to be at 65-ish, which would be at the top of that gap. And you can be either do the top of this gap or obviously down here in the bottom somewhere. But let me check the 4-hour, see what it's talking about. And this is a situation where if I don't see anything definitive in terms of any type of support, I won't trade it. I see 63 down here because of this. This is a actual formation. Very strong leg out. Came down, turned and started moving up. No matter how you do this, that's a strong leg out. So even if you did a small leg in, or did like this, large leg in, large leg out. Either way, you still have a turning point right here. So that's what I would be looking at. But theory, you could also do this because that is a chair formation. So this would be leg in. Where we at 64. So we would have to have it like this. So leg in, 2 in the base, leg out. So that gray area that I marked earlier on the 4-hour would also be a chair. And you could do it this way if you wanted to. Leg in, 3 in the base, leg out. I was just doing it this way. This is less risk, if you will. But this is what it looks like over here. So it bounced off that line right there. So I would not have a problem looking at under 63 on this side, which is 79%. So this may end up being like 10 cents, 11. I'll take it. All right. There's not really a lot of premiums up here, and this for me is too close. 73% is a little bit too close. So now the other thing we could have did was went further out to see if there was anything out there. So 62-ish at 81% out the money would have been 11 cents. So still be in the same vein from that standpoint. So both of those trades go through. That'll be about $22 collected. Yeah. On $100 or one spread. You have to go into the chart settings in alerts. I'm looking at here. How do I get there? I'm looking at Karen C's message. I got show alerts. Oh, right here. Okay, let's go with this. Let me see what show arrows only look like. Oh, gives you this arrow right here. Oh, let me see what happens. It's down here. Yeah, thank you, Karen. Good looking out, G Money. Appreciate that. Yeah. See what I'm saying? You've redefined Karen, the Karen.
I told you that sharing was caring.
Yeah. No, I'm saying she's redefined Karen, like Karen.
Yeah, I get it.
Oh,
I got it.
every Karen seems to be have a bad rep now, but we got a good Karen. All right, good Karen. Appreciate that. Yes. All right, so we got those in, and I think the last one we'll do is somebody said Adobe. Then we'll bounce on out. This is what's happening with SPX. Look at that. It broke through the 15-minute. So it did the breakout, but then it also pushed up through the this was the Mancini zone. So it broke past this resistance level right here. The next resistance level is here at 5187. So it's doing its boxing match right now. Let's see what Roy is talking about. This is also broken out. It has a different level though at 2056. Might be its next spot. I don't see any real push up per se, but I would definitely be down here. I'm messing with this. And this closed here, so this should be up here. Just putting these lines on here so we'll know where everything is. 15. All righty. I would be, what time is that? Right now is where I would be looking at a put credit spread. Oh, I got one in already. Yeah. Oh yeah, I did put one in from the other day. Okay. So you need to be under 2040, but I already have something there. And I'm glad I saw that because I think I was trying to lock one of these. 2032, 2030. All I did was went to a different day. Because one thing that I do like about the PDT hack that I never hear discussed is that I can get in on, if I get in on both sides, 40. So I'm in on the put side. So to do the PDT hack, I go to the other side and I invert the legs. Whatever I did on the one side that I entered on, I reverse it. So I sold on this leg, I'm buying on this leg. I bought on this leg, I'm selling on this leg. Then I'm going to add in what I want for profit, which is going to be $40. So limit price is 40.70, 40.75. Now I'm gonna do good till cancel. So I put in this order over here. It accepted. This is a PDT hack. So this opposite order with the inverted legs, if this accepts, it will lock in at $40, and it will expire on tomorrow if it locks. Otherwise, I'll just have to keep checking it out and go from there. I'm gonna do Adobe. Now, what I'm about to say now is not investment advice, but when it comes to researching, when I say research, I mean when you decide where do you want to get started looking. Let me rephrase this whole thing. When I start looking for where I want to get in to a trade, sometimes what I'll do is, since I know that 80% out the money is a relatively safe place, sometimes what I'll do is I'll go to the expiration, and I'll just go and look and see, okay, what price point is in that 80% range, which is here, 482.5, 485. If I'm doing doing a put credit spread, and then I'll look at 80% over here, which is 502.5, 505, just a 2.5 spread. So if I just happen to be over here looking at the option chain first, when I go to start charting, I'll just keep those numbers in mind. And that kind of gives me an idea of where I'll be looking on the actual chart. Again, I'm not letting the option chain necessarily determine what the chart looks like, but I'll at least give myself a chance of having an idea when I get to that point. Oh, this may be, an area where I could take a trade. Sometimes I will do that. And I do that because it helps me actually get clarity on the connection between the option chain and the chart even more. So that has been very, very beneficial for me. Right. So it's the exact same process. All I'm doing is looking to see what the option chain says first. So I have a channel right here. This is a downtrend. What's of note here is that if this for Adobe, this is where it based over here. So it has this activity happening right over here. And we'll got this happening right over here. Looks like it kind of gapped up a little bit. And we'll see what the daily has to say. Yep. So we got some time before it continues up, but it based here for a while and finally broke out with some indecision in there. So you got a gap here, got a little bit of a gap left there, and then you got some space to move on up. I can see, this could be, if this is not considered a traditional seller zone, because this middle candle is sitting so low, I would still be marking it as something happening, because price seems to stop. What's the close on here? The close on here is 497.01. The high over here is 496.76. So this seemed to have stopped about where this was. So that's the only reason why that caught my attention. So I would at least be marking. And again, the reason why I mentioned what I've seen other people chart is just because I understand that charting, some people have referred to it as a art form from the standpoint of everybody sees something different. So I try to incorporate what I know other people may do, even if I don't do it. Because I mean, so far it has not done me a disservice by knowing what other people are also doing. So here we have it. If we did leg in, one in the base, leg out, that's a strong leg out. This would be a seller zone that it is rejecting off of right now. And so we got some opportunity, in my opinion. And I would put this in a cheer formation right here. Right. So this is that yellow line that we put for the weekly. Leg in, base, leg out. Right. So if it's going to come down, it can come down and hit this trend line, bounce up, even if it breaks through there. You have that weekly and you have that daily line right there. So we can do either one of those. Since this is pushing up, I will be looking to do something under current price, unless you go much further up, because this is turning around. But right here where it's pushing up, that will be of note to me. So I'll be more comfortable going to the downside. So 485. 485, about right there. All right, which is below. I think I said earlier it had gapped. So that's what we're seeing here. There's a gap there that has not been filled yet. All righty. And that's 487. 488, 487. Now, some people who, do their gap differently would be putting their gap here, which is 486, because the idea is the body of the candle hasn't filled it. So it may not be considered filled by them. I go by what I see the price action doing. Either way, 485 is under that, which regardless of which one we do, is still under that in terms of where it's located. So 485 on here is at 81% out the money. 34 cents. It's more than 10%. I'm gonna go ahead and let the Lord use my fingertips. Put this trade in.
Sim May, baby. Sim May.
What you're not gonna do is
because you spending money like make it rain, baby.
All over the place. All over the place. All right. All right, listen, do you have any announcements or anything? I'm just gonna look at SPX one more time.
Whew. Hey, y'all, I do have a few, I don't know if they're called announcements, but the first thing is just keep in mind, I know Jamie already mentioned it, and all these blings let you know we're still there, is we are in Sim May. So if you've got a strategy you're testing out, or you're seeing about how you like a different strategy or put credit spreads, you're learning call credit spreads, however, whatever, if you're testing something, then let's test it in the sim. Okay. I sent out The information for those who are in live coaching to go ahead and do your homework, because tomorrow we're going over call credit spreads and we want to be ready for that training. I'm also, you see, I've been putting more things in the chat as we go, different trades, different thoughts, and stuff are there. So, always avail yourselves of that. If you got questions, be sure to ask. You don't want to have a resource and then not utilize a resource. And then after it's all over, wish you had asked. Be sure to ask, right? When you got questions. I think that's about all the things I had to say. That's about all I had to say. I feel like I had something else, but I can't remember it. So I guess that's nothing else. Thank you, Jamie.
Okay. Alrighty then. We are at, so this was Russell 2K, Russell 2K. All right, this is one we were waiting for to see what it was going to do. So it looks like a tiny bit more movement since getting into that particular trade. And here's what SPX is doing right now. It has now come up to the point that we pointed out earlier, where I was saying this will be the next resistance. This is where it closed on the previous day, so it is making its way up there. At, I forgot what the price was that I saw, but yesterday, let me see, do I have it? I think I might have closed the screen. All right, so we have coming up this coming Saturday, Cash Flow Chronicles. Yeah. If you are familiar with Rich Dad Poor Dad, Robert Kiyosaki, on richdad.com, you can sign up for a free profile. If you want to play on Saturday and be on the board, you need that free profile. This is the game where we learn how to cash flow. So if you like Monopoly and life, it is like that, except, in my opinion, on steroids. So those games teach you what you can get, and this game teaches you how to get it. And so it's a very fun game. It's a financial education board game. So it is designed to teach the principles of multiple streams of income, budgeting, credit, stocks, real estate. You learn a lot about investing. It's on second Saturdays. And so 11 o'clock on this link, meeting ID, passcode. It's on Zoom. So sponsored by Educator the Trader. The idea is, if you are currently not having the conversation about even stock trading, but wealth building, investing, any of that, if you and your family don't discuss things like that, like my family hasn't, and you want to introduce those concepts in a fun way, this is the way we want to do it. So hopefully you learn with us how to play the board game, and then you set up your own profiles with your family and friends, and y'all can play online yourself. So richdad.com again is where you sign up. I enjoy the experience because it's a great place to network. You learn what other people are doing, let people know what you're doing, and there's been a lot of exchange of information in the settings. So it's been great. E2T Daily Declaration. By faith, I'm a successful trader. I'm a wise and knowledgeable trader. I make smart and lucrative decisions for my portfolios. Money likes me because money is comfortable around me. It is drawn to me. E2T Daily Prayer. Lord, give us wisdom and knowledge for our trades today. Help us to make smart and lucrative decisions for our portfolios. Okie dokie. The Dow Jones Industrial Average is currently up 0.20%. S&P 500 is up 0.06%. The NASDAQ is up 0.03%. Russell 2K is down 0.58%. The VIX has dropped slightly, 0.45%. It is at 13.17. All right, everybody. Thank y'all so much for hanging out with us on this morning. Feel free to join our membership, educatorthetrader.com. All the information is on our website. And I think that's it. Just remember to stay green and to get this money. All right. You all have a great trading day. We will see you in the Telegram group, or we'll see you on our next stream. You all have a good one.
Goodbye, everyone.